Dave, shift gears again a little bit. With a lot of the issues that are taking place in the national scene, the healthcare and potential other regulations that are going to be forced upon us, what can the lieutenant governor do, or what could you do as lieutenant governor to reinforce states' authority or power, and try to take back some of the control the federal government seems to be taking away from the states?
And it's, again, no different than as mayor, where I've been, very vocal in this process. Something we need to understand, and anytime you start talking about this issue this way, people get squeamish, but let me be real careful how I say this. And I'm finding out as mayor, I can describe things in broader terms. As a statewide candidate, if I describe things in broader terms, that they take one sentence and then it's in the blogosphere, and that's what's happening again right now, today. But right now we have nationalized health insurance. Now you might say, well, no we don't. Yes, we do. When hospitals enacted, one by one, 30, 40 years ago, saying that if you take federal dollars, you have to accept any patient that walks in your door. From that day, we started national health care. Because 30% of the people that walk in a hospital room or an emergency room or get admitted, either low pay or no pay. Who pays for that? We do. So someone is already paying the national health care bill, right? It's you. It's me. I was self-employed, and I went from a $1,000 deductible to a $2,000 deductible to a $5,000 deductible, and my next deductible I was going to $10,000 because I couldn't afford health care. So we're already paying for people with no health care. So you have to honestly look at how are we going to pay for, or how are they going to pay for their health care? And for a while, I supported that somehow people who don't have health care, in order for them to get some benefit, because they're getting it anyways for free, that they'd have to work. And somehow through some system that they would be, because we need to honor work in our culture. We cannot keep honoring people not going to work. We can't keep honoring people who don't contribute. And they have to contribute in some way. So it means even if you work at a job that's minimum wage, you have to contribute to work in order to receive that benefit. And that benefit could come in the form of a tax you pay or something, so that your health care costs don't go through the roof. Well, what's happening with Obamacare is he's going to magnify the social system we already have by making you pay more. And he's putting more people who aren't paying and some who are underpaying and making them no payers. And therefore, you're going to see healthcare skyrocket. If you remember, Obama changed his tune. When he ran on national health care, do you remember he said he was going to lower your costs? Remember that? Yeah. He's not saying that anymore. Did you know that? He's not even talking about cost anymore. He's only talking about access, and he's not talking about affordability anymore. Because you and I know it's not becoming more affordable. I talked to a CEO of a large health system, a $1 billion health system. That's a small health system, by the way, but a $1 billion health system. Under Obamacare, they are now going to assume $200 million more in services they have to give with no receipt of payment. Not counting the $600 million reduction, $600 billion, no, 60, what was the health care? 600 million, yes. $600 million reduction in Medicare that's going to be passed on to hospitals, which will have to service at no remuneration. And he figures at least 20 to 25% of their revenue is going to disappear under Obamacare. So Obama fixed it wrong, and he fixed it with the wrong mentality.
So a follow-up question.
Yeah.
To clarify this a little bit, what rights do you believe the states have to nullify this or to opt out of this program? Do you think there's any way that legally we can as a state?
Well, I thought we had more of an opportunity when he demanded payment, but now he's calling it a tax. Now, he understands because the Constitution allows the federal government to levy taxes against the states. So if you remember, he said when he was fixing the system, do you remember he said it wasn't a health care tax? And now he's fighting it in court, and now he's calling it a tax. He has to call it a tax in order to pass the constitutional test. Because you know the courts would exactly throw out mandatory health care, forcing you to buy a product against your will. So now he's calling it a tax, and that has put him under the constitutional umbrella. He's going to try to get away with that. And then if you remember when he was asked, well, you said it wasn't a tax, and now you're saying it's a tax. Remember what his response was? Well, you always knew it was going to be a tax.
I'm a politician, don't legally say.
Yeah, exactly. But we still need to fix health care. And fixing it is not fiddling with the free market system that we have. But we have to find a way to pay for no pays. Because you're going to pay for no pays, and you already are. But the worst thing now is you can expand access. More people are going to come into the system with no... the scary part about this is he's not going to limit someone who has no pay. So if you go... Have you ever been in an emergency room at 2 o'clock in the morning? I have. Yeah. 2 o'clock in the morning. What do you see? You talk to nurses and emergency room doctors, they'll recognize you, and you'll go up and you'll talk to them, you know. And you know what? I've had him admit to me, this person over here is bringing their child in at 2 o'clock in the morning so they can go party. We're just going to be daycare for 24 hours. That child will be checked out tomorrow. When you give free access with no cost and no penalty, that's what happens to your healthcare system. And he's going to expand that in a way to even flood our emergency rooms and our doctor's offices with more no-pay people. It's still broken. And
so the answer to your question, to the question specifically, is that there's really nothing the states can do.
Here's the problem. If you say,
Lieutenant Governor.
well, no, but even the states, because can you imagine if you said, let's use Medicare for a good example. Okay, that pays for our seniors, right? Those are pass-through dollars managed by the state, and you say under states' rights, you know, we're not going to mandate care mandate Medicare. Okay, the minute you do that, they quit making the payment to the states for Medicare. The minute you do that, every senior in your state is not covered. So, is this wrong from an ideological standpoint? Yes. Is it practical? Absolutely not. Because every mandate, every funding you would refuse comes with a greater penalty. Comes with a greater penalty. Well, you know, when we went through
Is refusal of funding the only potential option?
I would think so.
What about challenging it in the courts?
Well,
There's
because
some states that are doing that.
the states are doing that, but Obama's changing the argument to make it constitutional when it wasn't prior to what he said. He's actually saying something different in court than what he said private. He was going to mandate care, right?
I understand that. He
Yeah.
also made a no tax pledge. So
Yeah, well, now it's a tax.
now the question seems to me to be, what could you do as Lieutenant Governor to fight that?
Again, you partner with the governor and you look at areas in which you can fight and be successful without creating a huge liability for your state. Good example, when Reagan passed .08 for drunk driving. Okay, what was that tied to? Thank you. Okay, do you know how many billions of dollars of highway dollars that every state, every community, every municipality, we all get federal highway dollars. That's how we fix our roads, pass-through dollars. If they didn't pass .08, you lose all your federal funding. Now, it isn't just federal funding for states. That's federal funding for municipalities and townships and counties. Okay, you want your federal dollars, your tax dollars, by the way, you paid through the gas tax, to all go away. That's what would happen. So what they do is they create a hammer, a carrot, and a stick. We'll give you this, but you have to do that. And by the way, I don't think taxes should be levied to change behavior, because taxes were never intended to. Taxes were to tax. Look at the Constitution. Levy a tax for what? So that the government can do a certain thing. It was never designed to create behavior.